I apologize for interrupting, but the main speaker has been muted, so we can't hear anything.
Thanks, Fran.
You're welcome.
And I am recording. All right.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Everyone is present that's listed, except for Marina, and she has an excused absence this evening. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right behind you there is the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The mission statement: the Viroqua Area School District provides a quality education for all students that inspires continuous learning, positive relationships, curiosity, and compassion in an environment that welcomes diversity while developing respectful and responsible citizens. We're going to move around a couple of things where, if it's okay with everyone, which I actually already asked. So we are going to start with welcoming visitors and public comment. We have Fran Felton and I believe, Beth, that they have been given the policy on public speaking, public comment. And it's a little different because of COVID, so I apologize to all of you. And everyone should also be aware that during public comment, the board does not respond to public comment. With that, Fran, would you like to go ahead and start?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Fran Felton, and I am a VAMS parent. I am speaking tonight on behalf of many of the Viroqua area Montessori families in support of amending the current VAMS charter to include 7th and 8th grades. Since the launch of the first VAMS classroom in 2014, the Montessori school has continued to grow, not only growth in the numbers of students, but also growth as a community of families sharing a similar vision and educational expectations for our children. Many of our children have experienced this sense of community since the age of 3 and have built strong relationships with their peers and teachers due to the small class sizes and multi-age classrooms. The structure of these multi-age classrooms has helped our children grow in confidence, independence, and self-motivation as they learn how to take responsibility for their work plans and how to ask for help from peers and teachers when needed. They develop strong communication skills, problem-solving skills, and cooperative social skills through this model of learning where students share materials and need to plan their work time around the availability of these materials. The academic expectations in the Montessori school are rigorous, and students are learning valuable life skills that will carry them into adulthood and into the workforce. That is why we feel so strongly about continuing this firm foundation through 7th and 8th grades to keep meeting the needs of our kids, especially as they enter these formative and sensitive transition years of adolescence. Based on its enduring success and expansion over the last 7 years, the Viroqua area Montessori school will only continue to grow. We as VAMS families desire to see this good success continue for all families interested in a Montessori education for their children, starting in preschool and continuing until high school. So again, on behalf of the current Viroqua area Montessori families, I ask you to please consider amending the current VAMS charter to include 7th and 8th grades. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Fran, for your willingness to speak this evening and also your engagement in the positive education of all the students in our district. So thank you very much. Elliot, where are you most comfortable standing?
Right up here would be fine.
That's fantastic. So if you don't mind, Elliot, if you could just maybe tell us, which grade you're in and why you chose to speak.
I'm in 5th grade Montessori. Well, my name's Elliot Jensen, and I'm in 5th grade Montessori. I just really enjoy being in Montessori, and I think it would be sad to not get a 7th and 8th grade Montessori, so I'm here supporting getting a 7th and 8th grade Montessori classroom.
That's marvelous. Thank you so much.
Hi, I am Elliot Jensen and I am in 5th grade Montessori. I first want to thank the school board for giving me this opportunity to speak here. I wanted to speak here today on the behalf of myself and the students of the Viroqua area Montessori school who want an extension of the Montessori charter to include 7th and 8th grade. My classmates and I enjoy being at Montessori, and we believe that it is a great gift to be able to learn at our own rate. Without a 7th and 8th grade Montessori program, kids that are having to switch to a different kind of classroom, where the learning environment, materials, and how work is done is different, puts lots of pressure and confusion on multiple kids. It also breaks apart groups of friends who are forced to go to different classrooms and different kinds of learning programs because there is not a 7th and 8th grade Montessori option. Those relationships matter. We also believe that just because 7th and 8th graders are older doesn't mean they shouldn't get Montessori. It is not fair for kids to have to go somewhere where they do not know the routine and they do not know how things are done, which disrupts their education. This may only seem to be a problem to adults, but we are the subject of what you are talking about. We should get just as much a say in this as adults do, because this is my education, my classmates' education, future generations' education. If a 7th and 8th grade Montessori was created, families that want their kids to go to Montessori for generations to come would have 2 more years of Montessori. If Montessori kids do incredible things up to 6th grade, just think what 2 more years will do to help them gain even more knowledge to be the best they can be. Montessori is like a second home to us. It is a great place where goals can be achieved and kids can do group work, strengthen interactive abilities, and many other things. Now you may be thinking, you can do all these things in regular public school. There are different kinds of ways for kids to achieve these things, and Montessori is just a different way for kids to learn. It is a wonderful hands-on education resource where kids can learn things with materials and lots of demonstrations instead of just using workbooks. There is more to education than just homework and different classes. Education is what prepares someone for their future, and it is a sad thing to think about when it comes to kids being forced to go to a new work environment where nothing is familiar to them. One thing that Montessori has taught me and my classmates is that nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it. We believe that this also applies to getting a 7th and 8th grade Montessori. Montessori kids would be happy to help the school board find a way to do this, but we need your help because we cannot do this without you. Thank you for your time.
You spoke beautifully. I can only hope to speak so well as an almost 60-year-old. So we thank you so very much for coming and for speaking so eloquently about what you want for your education. You did just an amazing job. So thank you so much. Your teachers, your parents should be very proud. You should be very proud of yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I almost feel like you deserve like a round of applause. So thank you so very much. Gosh, we should have students come and speak more often. That was fantastic.
No pressure, high schoolers.
Yeah, that's right. So the next item on the agenda is going to be the VAMS amendment to charter agreement. Is there a motion to approve the VAMS amendment to the charter agreement to extend 7th and 8th grade when fully implemented? Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Eric, are you wanting to add something?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I frankly, the note that I jotted down, I said Fran and Elliot said it way better than I could. So I said I could just pack up my computer at this point. We submitted the pre-read. There was a lot of great work done by the curriculum committee, but this was really an effort spurred on by the families, community-based effort by the parents, obviously by the students as well. So we already have the motion at the table, and you've seen the pre-read. I could go through all of our notes if you'd like, but I'm happy to see where the school board takes this. But obviously, the pre-read really tried to set the scene here. This is invested families, governance council, teachers and students. The school has been successful over the years, and the idea of these students not being able to continue their education in a familiar environment, it was just something that was too much for the parents and the governance council to sit idly by and watch happen. So we're here to support it. We got engaged folks ready to take on this challenge. After this, the real work starts, frankly. We have to work on figuring out the details. We know what we want to accomplish. It's then a partnership with the VAMS community and the administration in the district, community at large, to figure out how to do it. So we look for everyone's support there to make sure that we are just as successful as Elliot and Fran want us to be. So we just hope for your support, amend this contract, and we will take it to the next stage then to make it successful. So I just want to thank you for your time.
So the board is always very supportive of education and providing the opportunity for all students to learn in the best capacity. That's what's best for them, because we realize that everyone learns in a different way. Is there any discussion on this topic?
Angie?
Yes, Robert.
It's Robert. The question is 7th and 8th grade the last step, or are we going to be looking at high school then being the next step here to a Montessori education?
Tom, I mean,
Yeah, I don't think we're ready to answer that, Robert. Right now, the amendment is for 7th and 8th grade. We have not had any, Eric and I, the governance council, the teachers, we've not had any conversations about going beyond 7th and 8th grade. So I don't think I can really go, I can't tell you that. Right now, the amendment is for 7th and 8th grade when fully implemented, and I think, that's what's on the table.
it should also be noted that the school board does not create the charter agreement. And so it's up to Eric and whomever your committee is to go through DPI and to work with the state, and then work with our administrators to come up with and our legal counsel to come up with an agreement that works best for our district. And then it comes to the board after that piece, because it's a public charter school, and that's how this works moving forward, just so everyone's aware if you're not aware of that.
And I think it is important to go further, so how this started was, the governance council created a subcommittee that brought the proposal to the governance council. The governance council approved the amendment. It's coming to you, the authorizer, now, and then after that, I would submit paperwork from both the governance council and us as the authorizer to DPI for approval, which we don't anticipate being an issue. Am I correct in saying that, Eric?
Yeah, we worked with a consultant on this who is a subject matter expert in Wisconsin for charter schools, and this is kind of a simple, more of a submission. Now later on, next time, maybe when we our contract is up and we need to resubmit, or we needed to potentially submit for new charter funding for that middle school program, that's a different case then. Then it's a little bit more paperwork, and I believe the timeline for that would be next February. So this gives us a good runway to get something implemented for the next school year to help out Elliot in his classroom. And then we would kind of have the program model a little bit in place then to get ourselves potentially in line for a charter expansion, which kind of takes us to the next level for potential more funding.
So you're looking for a title expansion that would start in the academic year of 22-23?
So now you're gonna test my math. So next school year, 21-22, we're looking to begin the new classrooms this coming school year.
Start September.
Correct.
Okay. I wasn't sure what your thoughts were.
Yes, 21-22.
Any other discussion?
Angie, again, this is Robert. The classrooms will be located in the middle school and then kind of in the area where Trillium was, or is that the plan?
We also haven't, decided those types of details either, Robert. And again, as we were going through this and just trying to give some more history to this, is, the question was posed, and then it was, we talked about it, and working out those details wasn't even an option, because currently that's not the charter agreement. So we're not, this is step one, and those are steps that we will tackle quickly, but have not had an opportunity, and nor should we have, address those at this point.
Guess I don't necessarily agree with that, Tom, but we'll proceed.
All right, with that, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, you guys can stay as long as you want. You're more than welcome, but if you are ready to check out, that is absolutely fine as well. And thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Fran, if you're still on. Thank you very much. The next item is CISA 10 facility study update. Mike or Tom, do you want to introduce
Sure.
our speakers, our presenters?
Yeah, so we have from CISA 10, we have Nate and Tony here to present what is pretty much, I guess how we would say part 1 of 2 of our facilities study. And they've been working specifically with Mike and working through this process. And so they're going to tell us kind of give us the highlights at this point in time of what they found. And then again, we'll have that final report. I believe it will be at the May 17th meeting. Am I correct on that, Nate?
Yeah, your next May meeting.
Yep. All right, so go ahead, take it away, guys.
Quick question for you guys. Are you able to allow me to present my screen for a PowerPoint?
Yes, I am. Have you tried?
I have, and it says host disabled.
Okay, so that's multiple participants can share simultaneously. Try it now.
Okay. Now I can. Let me just get my screen set up over here.
It looks good on our side right now.
Okay, perfect. I'll dive in. My name is Tony Menard. I am a facilities management advisor for CISA 10, and I've been working with Nate Carell on developing your guys' facility study, and as well as Luke Schultz, who's been helping out. He was attended the Buildings Grounds Committee meeting just a little bit ago. He had to go to a different meeting, so I'm going to be helping him out throughout this process as well. And we'll kind of jump into our presentations. If anybody has any questions while we're going through this, please feel free to let Nate and myself know, and we'll do our best to answer you guys' questions. But we'll try to dive into this, where we're talking about what we've been doing at the school district over the last month and a half, and go from there. So just a brief, let me get, there we go. CISA 10, facilities management. So everyone really pretty much knows what CISAs are throughout the state of Wisconsin. We actually at CISA 10 have a facilities management department that goes statewide. We've been able to work with 130 plus school districts around the state. Our offices are located in Chippewa Falls and Madison, but we also have 50 employees, with a couple of employees being remote in Milwaukee, as well as the Green Bay area. And what we try to do as part of CISA 10 facilities management is we try to really offer unbiased third-party look at projects or facilities for school districts around the state of Wisconsin, and really try to find ways to help them and make sure that all their needs are met in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, our team that's been working on this project has been Luke Schultz. He kind of initiated everything. He's our business development at CISA 10. Myself, I'm working with Luke hand in hand, day in and day out. And then Nate Carell is our lead project manager, who's been on site roughly 4 or 5 different times to really get a good understanding of your guys' facilities and really look at the ins and outs of what we suggest moving forward. And like I had mentioned, we have several different services that we provide those 130 different school districts with, anywhere from facility studies, referendum planning, construction management services, also environmental consulting. Really, all these different services are allowing us to provide unique opportunities to help districts get through any challenges that they might have. Kind of going a little bit more in depth in the facility audits or the facility study that we've been working with. And what we try to do is initially we try to set up a meeting to go over any issues or any needs that the district is looking for with the administration. And then from there, during our study, our audit, we're going to walk the facilities with district staff, ask district staff when we're in the hallways what they need, what has been causing issues for them, so that we can really get a good understanding of what needs to be fixed or what needs to be upgraded. You know, if there's been a leaky window throughout the facility, going through the walkthrough, doing those things with district staff really helps us get a good understanding of what we need to suggest moving forward. We'll also take a look at the building prints and study the utility data from the past recent years. And then once we have all this information, we'll go back to our office, we'll sit down with our team, and we'll develop the report. And the report really entails a matrix that will be able to be turned over to the district of priorities, ranking from where we see the most important all the way down to the, you know, the thing that's 10 plus years down the road that you guys need to be aware of when looking and, you know, planning for capital improvements. Then from there, once we internally at CISA 10 have that kind of the outline of the report in place, and we'll sit down and meet with administration to really see what they think of the report, see if they want any, you know, additions or where we're at with the report. And then after that, we'll sit down and we'll talk and we'll deliver the report like we talked about in the middle of May here, the 17th, and deliver our findings. So that's kind of an overview on CISA 10. If we don't have any questions, or if there's questions, I can take them at this time. If not, I'll let Nate Carell, who was doing the walkthroughs of the facility, kind of dive into really what the meat of this report's going to be.
Thanks, Tony. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if that young man Elliot is still in the room, I'd really rather just turn this over to him from now on, and he's going to be more well-spoken than I am. But I'll get down to it. So Tony spoke for a moment about the matrix. That's the term we use for our final. It's just a big spreadsheet that rates all of the individual issues that we find in the facilities, highest priority to lowest priority. I just wanted to talk about that for 1 second before we start. The matrix has a number of different criteria that make up the number that gives it a priority. Their predicted useful life, whether it has an environmental health and safety concern, a functional condition rating, and if it has a return on investment. So given those different items gives us a final number in how these things end up ranking. And for this preliminary finding presentation that we're giving today, I basically just chose a number that I felt was the highest of priority, or, you know, still an important topic, and anything worse than that, higher number than that, and put it into this presentation. So that's how I built this. So we'll start at the elementary, and I'll go through, these slides are actually rated. I'm sure things will change a bit from now until the time of the final presentation, but these slides are rated in highest priority to lowest, even though the lowest on this presentation is still pretty high. So you can flip, Tony. So the first picture, and before we talk about the pictures for a second, I just wanted to say, we're going to talk about pictures. I'm going to go through a dozen or so pictures at each school, and then show you some cost estimating, and then wrap both schools together into one final slide of cost. My point being, it may be tough to tie what you're seeing back to the cost later in a few minutes. If anybody has any questions while we're going through the slides, please bring them up. I think it may be better to bring them up now than at the end. So this first slide, it's funny that it rose to the top. It's just not really a big deal in terms of cost, but given those criteria that I just explained, it gets a very high number for all of them. It's just from the last time, I believe this is likely when the digital control project was done a few years ago, they just didn't re-insulate afterwards. So it kind of gets a high score in useful life because it's not there, and safety because it's hot, and condition because it's not there. So this is going to be less than a $5,000 item, but just used it as an example to explain the criteria. So that was number one. You can go, Tony. Building caulking envelope, building envelope caulking and sealants. So the elementary school, it actually does have quite bad window caulk in a lot of areas. The picture on the left is in the upper IMC window from the roof. So I don't know if you all can see my cursor or not, but the caulk is actually gone in that vertical joint and in the horizontal joint. The picture doesn't really do it justice, but water is definitely entering the building in this case. So long story short, we need to do a pretty extensive caulk project at the elementary. The other picture, the lower right, tough to see, but there again, this is actually a ground level window where the caulk joint just kind of ends because it's gone. And the upper picture, this is a little different than the other windows. This is a steel frame window where it's starting to rust. It just needs to be painted and ground. But okay, Tony. For those of you in the B&G meeting, this slide Mike and I spoke about for a second, but this is one of the larger, more important projects at the elementary school that needs to be gotten on top of fairly quickly. So this is quite a long story, and I'll try to not make it a long one, but the elementary was originally built with insufficient sized air handler coils, and the coils are the piece of equipment that does the job of both air conditioning and dehumidifying. These air handlers have other issues than just being undersized because of another long story. They ended up full of water and they're rotting out through the bottom, so they're kind of being held together with caulk. Air handlers are made to drain their condensate into a drain, and et cetera, et cetera. That long story short, these air handlers need to be replaced. And I have a pretty good opinion that the proposal Mike has in hand is a little overboard than what needs to be done, but still some significant work needs to be done here. And we'll talk about the costing on that in a bit. Another one of the higher priority issues also in the HVAC realm is the domestic hot water heater for the elementary school. This unit has been an issue for maintenance, continues to be. It was originally built to supply extra hot water, high temperature water to the kitchen, which is now done by a booster heater in the kitchen. So all that extravagant insulated piping you see, the white piping behind, can really just go away. And I just recommend we put in standard commercial hot water heaters. And another thing about this is you don't have any redundancy. When this goes down, you're not going to have hot water. So just a standard school setup of 2 or 3 hot water heaters. Okay. Exterior doors are an issue across the district. Here's an example of door 12 at the elementary school. If you look around the concrete, you can see the frame and the storefront glass structural piece along the bottom is rusted through. This is pretty extravagant. You know, that's a high level of rust where these doors do need to be replaced. So those have been identified in the audit. And the next slide, Tony, is similar area. This is a different door set, but the canopy steel columns, which hold up the large entrance canopies, are this doesn't really scare me, I guess, but it's an issue that needs to get addressed very soon. More so just for peace of mind. I think somebody needs to grind and repaint and make sure that that rust isn't too extravagant yet. And if a column has to be replaced, it's not going to be a huge deal, but may have to be replaced. All right, Tony. It was interesting to hear Mike speak about the flooring bids. I was taking notes. Those are good numbers to have in our repertoire. So I don't believe that Mike is planning on replacing any of or going over top of any of this quarry tile with VCT.
This is the stuff right inside the entrance to the elementary and the cafetorium there. It's a rougher gridded tile that's original, I believe, since the build.
Yeah. So, you know, I took it, or I looked at this tile from a perspective of what to do with it. It's actually a high cost, durable, tough flooring that you paid a premium for. So I went after it of how to repair it. I know that it's a loud tile, so if the school decides that you'd rather go over top of it with something else, it could probably stay there and go over top. But I've priced it out as really just a broad-based grout and wall base repair. A few tiles need to be replaced, but most of the tiles are in good condition. It's just a pretty extravagant grout failure. And I know it sounds like you've got some pretty good carpet removal plans in place. The district office carpet is actually the worst condition carpet. So that's the only piece of carpet that made the audit from a perspective of it needs to be replaced. I know that programming and teaching is more important than the district office, but that's where we are with that. So Hardscapes, there is a ton of asphalt in the district that's in poor shape. Excuse me. So I'll kind of talk about district wide instead of these couple of shots of the elementary. I didn't go through and try to break down yet at this point, unless you want me to, individual small sections of each lot and try to give each lot a grade. What I would say is that throughout the entire district, including Ben Lawton Drive, every piece of asphalt that you have, except for about 2/3 of the high school student lot, you're not spending bad money to replace it. If you want to kind of piecemeal it and go after the worst, these shots are actually not the worst. This is a playground on the left and the front drive to the elementary on the right. The piece of asphalt in between the two schools and Ben Lawton Drive are the worst of the worst. And then all the rest I would put in kind of a condition of what you see here. So asphalt's a tough one. It's when you have this much of it, it gets to be a high dollar. And we all kind of know what happens. It's almost like carpeting. It gets worse and then it gets potholes and it's tough to plow. It's already tough to plow, but somewhat almost an aesthetic thing until it gets so bad that you can't, use it. So you can push it down the road, but I've spelled that out in the cost estimating later. Lighting, so somewhat similar. Not that, we're getting to the point in the elementary audit already where, and by the way, folks, I didn't really start off with that. These schools are in great shape. They really are. There's absolutely some things that need to be addressed, but I do this for a living and your schools are in great shape. So the lighting project, both schools are all still fluorescent technology. There is a little bit of LED outside. I noticed some on the high school. I don't know that I saw much at the elementary. I think all of your parking lot pole lighting is LED, but there is the bulk of the schools are fluorescent, and these are pretty good energy projects. Typically, outdoor is 2 to 3 year payback, and indoor is typically a 5 to 6 year payback. You combine them together and you get a little better project. The pool, I'll talk about the pool in a second, but since we're talking about lighting, the pool itself is a tremendous energy lighting opportunity. Those are 1,000 watt bulbs. I would recommend doing it in combination with the high school to bring the payback of the whole school down. But yeah, so there's a lighting opportunity. And I didn't notice going through your schools that you particularly had underlit or overlit spaces with the LED lighting audit that you would get to do it right. You know, any deficiencies overlit or underlit would get addressed, and you have all kinds of, depending on how much money you want to spend, you have all kinds of dimming capability with LED lights now. So really just an energy project for the most part. Okay, Tony. So the bulk of the elementary school is air conditioned with a chiller, a large piece of equipment that makes cooled water that we pump through the building. Two small office areas, the district office and the elementary office, are cooled with what we call a DX unit. So these units, they're, this kind of equipment, it's 25, this is 26 years old, I think. It's typically has a 20 to 25-year-old lifespan, in my opinion. People will tell you different things. I would say it's time to replace this equipment. I can tell the unit outside of the district office there on the right has some bad bearings. It's extra noisy. And that unit could actually, I think, really easily go on the roof and get it out of the way. But it's just at the end of its life. And that's not to say that you could keep this going through maintenance for another 10 years. It's not to say that it might not last for another 5 to 10 years without any help, but it's typically at the point where you have a major failure. Window lintels. So there's both an entrance lintel on the right and a window lintel on the left at the elementary here. There's a few of these you'll see at the high school as well. It's a little worse at the elementary than it is at the high school. There's nothing here that says to me this is a danger, like the wall's going to fall down. But these lintels are all starting to rust and need to be properly addressed. I have spoken to a couple of people about estimating this job that I haven't liked their answers yet because they want to replace them, and I'm not there at all. So we have done sandblasting and grinding and painting of lintels in the past, and I just think everybody's so busy that unless they're going to make a ton of money, they don't really want to do work right now. So I have it on the audit. Okay, Tony. So the boiler system and the pumps. The elementary has one high efficiency boiler not shown, and one of the original boilers left here. Actually, as far as longevity goes, the two boilers are probably going to last about the same lifespan left. I would put that around 10 years left. However, this is a very old, very inefficient boiler. You're now running what I'll call your good boiler. You're now running your good boiler around the clock rather than doing a typical lead lag scenario where each boiler runs half of the time and adds life to those boilers. So I think it's a good time, given the environment we're in with the stimulus funds. This boiler, we replace these kind of boilers all the time. So I think it's a good time to do it. And also having other HVAC work that needs to happen up there. You can see the water boiler behind it, and the air handlers are close by as well. I just added the pumps to the project. Not that there's anything wrong with your pumps, but I would put variable speed drives on these pumps. They just run at 100% speed all the time as they are now. And that's pretty uncommon to not control these pumps. And that could be done along with a boiler replacement cost effectively. So we're almost at the end of the elementary items, and the secure entrances ended up at the very end of the numbering system. This is kind of the only big picture new construction type item I have on the audit at this point. So neither school, I'll talk about them as one, neither school has a true secure entrance to the facility where a visitor, once they're allowed in, has full access to the school. You do have, the video and buzzer system where somebody can't just walk in without anybody looking at them. But in the scenario on screen here, we would, there's many options, but I would picture removing the canopy there to try to not make that entrance so grand, to steer people to this new entrance, which would be new construction in the little grayed out area. You'd enter that vestibule after being buzzed in, and then you would only be granted access to the receptionist, who would then buzz you a second time to get into the remainder of the building. If you had any bad intentions, you'd hopefully be stuck in the vestibule there. So very common secure entrance type project that schools and we have done across the state. And at the elementary school, this happens to seem to be a real good and easy solution. At the high school, when we get to that, it's not so easy. It'd be a little different. So, okay. And last on the elementary list, again, kind of COVID related and what we've been going through the last year. It was brought up to me by someone during the audit of how this is really an area of hurting, where the kids, girls and boys, pile out of the bathrooms and all collect to wash their hands at that single station. Off the top of my head, the first thing that came to mind, and it actually works out well with in-wall plumbing at the moment, but you could add 2 of those. So you have a boys and a girls, make them touchless instead of push button, and basically put 2 hand wash stations where each of the hand towel stations are. And I priced that out and talked to some people about that. So just an option to try to keep kids away from each other a little bit more. Okay, Tori. So we'll talk about costs, and I've put this all together on the very last slide so you can see it in totals, but I don't want to go through every number unless everybody wants to. You can just kind of get a feel for where we're at. And in areas where you'll see a lineal foot cost or a to be determined cost, I've gone ahead in the final page and put my best guess to that. The costing that we have here is either from past projects that CISA 10 has done recently. In some cases, I've reached out to contractors. So I feel pretty good about the numbers that you'll see that actually have numbers here. And another thing I'd say about our costing is, for instance, the air handling system. I think the proposal off the top of my head that Mike has in hand at the moment is $350. The scope of that project is quite a bit bigger than what I recommend. I actually feel like that project is going to be something like $250, but I put $300 because until we get bids, we just don't know, and I'd hate to underguess it. I'd rather be conservative. So most of my numbers are put that way in mind. So Tony, you can flip through the next couple. So the hardscapes and the lighting are bigger dollars. You can go to the next one, Tony. The secure entrances are bigger dollars. The plumbing, the $200,000 I just have, that's kind of a typical number that we use for a boys and girls full renovation. And I'm not suggesting that here, just giving you an idea. Those hand wash stations were about $12,000 each installed. So, and I think you have 2 of those bathrooms. So moving on to the high school, here's a shot of the high school from the roof of the elementary school. So you can go ahead, Tony. The bus garage and the maintenance shop I have at the moment included in the high school, middle school audit. So they're kind of ones, the slides that don't fit. So at the bus garage, you can go back to the bus. The bus garage situation is that it was improperly insulated from the get-go. This is actually a bad picture. It shows what's happening, but it shows some bad insulation, which is really what should have been done, I think. I'm still investigating this and I don't have good numbers yet, but there's loose granular fill insulation. And I have done some research on this, and condensation that occurs in the roof of a steel building is a thing that people look out for, and insulators know how to do this properly so that doesn't happen. But that's not what happened here. So loose fill granular insulation was blown in, and now these plastic bags that hold up the insulation are failing, and all that loose fill is blowing around the shop. And so the warm air of the shop is hitting the cold temperature of the roof, and it just rains and the insulation's all wet. This has to be dealt with soon. I threw $100,000 at it at the moment, thinking we can just rip all this insulation down and re-insulate it properly for that amount, but I really don't have a good feel for that yet, but I'm still working on it. So on to the maintenance shop, and I'm sure this is probably a can of worms. The way that I've approached it at this point is to fix it, and I know that that might not be the final solution. So the building has structural issues that need to be addressed. There's a part of the building that I wasn't shown that has actually had to be shored up. So I can't speak to that part and how bad that is or how dangerous that is, but the picture on the right is an issue. The rebar within the precast T structural concrete is rusting and exploding the concrete. That needs to be dealt with, and the way that I've approached this, like I said, is to fix it. So you have to jackhammer that, put in new reinforcement rebar, put down new concrete. On top of that, the building needs a new roof. It has electrical issues. It has plumbing issues. The little stairway on the side there needs to go. That's not very safe or to code. So, and that's a very small deal. I would just do that with maybe the tech ed kids or something, but. So I have, we'll talk about this in a moment, but I think I have this at 450 to fix. But just to give you an idea, this is a fairly large building. If indeed you need this much space, I think it's 8,000 square foot. And if you new construction numbers, this might be a $1.5 to $2 million building to build new. And I'm thinking 500, you probably have it licked to fix it. So those are the options to weigh. Mike again was talking about this in the last meeting. So there's definitely some tile issues. There's some expansion joint issues. I definitely think if that caulk joint, that expansion joint that you need fixed needs to get fixed quickly. It's hard to imagine that we couldn't get somebody in there to put that caulk joint in a few days. So, I mean, not get them here in a few days, but they could do it in a day or two. So I think that we could get around that, but there are some, some tiling and caulking issues in the pool. Okay, Tony. The loading dock area, this isn't necessarily a huge deal. It's got several things going on that need to get addressed. These aren't real high dollars, but we've got to fix that concrete, replace those truck bumpers. The man door on the right picture is rotted through. The kitchen exhaust fan not shown in this picture right above the left picture that you can't see got ran into by a truck, needs to get replaced. The light there is broke. So just some work needs to be done in this area. All right. Back to the pool. Pool boilers are not in good condition. They have been a maintenance issue. The small one has been replaced. you can see visually that they're rotting around the bottom just from the conditions that they are in. It scares me that a boiler this young, not necessarily super young, but one is already gone. So I would feel like the bigger one is close to its last leg as well. So I think these boilers should be replaced. Tony. So we spoke about this at the elementary, but similar situation, and Mike is on top of this. I think this set he's already working on getting replaced, but there's quite a few of these doors in both schools, steel frame doors that are rotting and need to get replaced. Here are a couple shots of the asphalt at the high school. So there's Ben Lawton and there's the area between the maintenance shop and the high school. All right, Tony. Exterior drainage. So it's not the entire school by any means. There's actually, it's funny that there's another slide and it's the same exact area, but there's a section of the school, it's about 500 linear feet where the roof water just drains to the surface and stays close to the school. So you guys have had issues in the past with water getting in the sub basement below the gym. You depend on a sump pump system. It's just it's a red flag to me because I've seen it become such an issue in other schools that I want to try to do something about it. The asphalt project that needs to happen in the nearby area, I think fits well with doing something underground, but I would just want to get this roof water to drain tile or underground piping and get it somewhere, I think, essentially outside of the maintenance shop down the hill, instead of having it sitting along the side of the building. Go down a couple, Tony. Down one more. Up. Nope. Up one more. There we go. So back in the pool again. And Mike mentioned this in the B&G meeting. I was glad to hear it, but a lot of the pool stainless equipment to me shows excessive corrosion that I'm not used to seeing in a pool. And I think it would be a great idea to just make sure we're on top of chemical treatment there. Not all, but not just this door. A lot of the stainless is showing this kind of corrosion. However, the building itself looks in really good shape, and that's not always what we see either. So I just wanted to get on top of that. And I'm not really saying there's a cost there. And then here's a picture of one of those 1,000 watt bulbs. I put 2 pictures on one slide. Okay, Tony. And again here, this is what's kind of totally a coincidence, but strange. The soffit situation, it's along the same exact roof area where you surface drain the roof instead of go to internal gutters. But you've got some exposed wood in the soffit. The soffit itself is not in good condition. This isn't a real high cost project, but just something I've seen that needs to be addressed. The pool, back to the pool. The pool doors and windows, there's 2 essentially emergency exit door sets that I was told were in real bad condition, and they're not in good condition. However, I was assuming I was just going to walk in there and say, we need to replace these. And I don't really think that. These are really good doors, and one is not hung properly. They have really heavy duty piano hinges. My first step would be to have a storefront glass expert come and spend some money and time trying to fix these. Your windows are in good shape. I just think they need some TLC. So that would be the first step before we just go replace them. Lighting, same story. I won't go through the story again, but quite a bit of either high intensity discharge, just inefficient lighting, stuff we just don't do or see in new construction in schools anymore. And here's a steel lintel rusting out in the high school. The high school doesn't have as many of these as the elementary school. This is just a one-off project, something that I think should get taken care of if it's needed. So there's a data closet beyond the, or would it be the south side of the building, trying to provide some cooling to this IT equipment. However, the heat rejection goes back into the room, so you're actually not accomplishing anything. So this unit is dated at an age where it makes sense to replace it anyways, but you just got to get that heat rejection, that condenser sitting on the roof and get it out of the building. And this is not a high expensive project. And neither is this. It just made kind of a high rating because of the way that we rate things. But masonry on both schools actually looks pretty darn good. The old incinerator stack on the high school is in rough shape. I would just take those 10 courses off and put a cap on it. Small cost. Tech ed overhead doors and that little bit of surrounding concrete apron are busted up. I think good shape to replace those doors. And we're almost to the end of the high school now. So the high school hot water heaters is kind of a tough one because, again, we make these recommendations based on typical lifespan of equipment. These are 16 years old. They're out of warranty. You have 5 of them in the high school. If I had a crystal ball, I'd say one of those 5 is going to blow up, is going to rot out or go down in the next 1 to 2 years. And one of those 5 is going to last 10 to 15 years. And the other 3 are going to go in the next 2 to 8 years. So however you want to approach it, you actually have plenty of spare capacity you could replace on failure and be just fine. But then you start to get one that's brand new and one that's old. And so it's that story. Not a huge dollar investment, but those could go at any time without feeling like you're wasting money. And here, the high school secure entrance project, the best I could come up with, and this is from talking to Mike, is to actually build something near the high school office where you're kind of doing a one-off, where you isolate that person walking in, or those isolate visitors to the building into a new little reception area that's probably manned by 1 or 2 people. But you're still not into your full office. You're just giving that second level of security and stopping people from full access to the building rather than having them in once they're in. So Tony did this review, so I'm going to let him talk about this. Is at Better Futures.
Yeah, this is over at the Better Futures High School. Can everyone hear me? Okay. This is at the Better Futures High School. Just a couple quick notes on some of the things that we noticed when we were in there. Big thing like Nate was talking about, district-wide is the lighting. Still fluorescent T8 2x4 troffers in there that could be updated. There's flooring needs where, you can see here, there's some duct tape down between the door. There's some other areas that are fraying and coming apart. Also, the HVAC system with the furnaces and the condensing units are original to the building, which I think was built in 2002. So like we've talked about, they're operating, they're working, but they're getting at that useful life age. So they should be considered to be replaced together, moving forward. Also, your windows, you can see in this middle picture that the exterior part of the windows, you have screens coming off, you have some weather stripping deteriorating or pulling apart from the window themselves too. So some of the windows need to be looked at. Just a couple other minor things in there. Some exterior doors in kind of the workshop area of that space, as well as I did notice when walking through there that to accommodate the 21st century type of learning style that's happening. There's, desks with computers in the middle of the classroom space, and there's electrical coming across the floor. That the electrical should be looked at to where we have plugins located near those desks so that we're not having electrical wires running across the floor there moving forward. But as you'll see, the dollar amount on the next couple page, just things that need to be updated and just improved a little bit. Otherwise, it's still a building with really good bones and a lot of good pieces to it outside of these. Oh,
Okay. So here's our cost synopsis of the high school, middle school costing. And again, I put the shop in the high school, middle school. So just take a look, a few of the numbers. I got another slide coming up that wraps all these things up. You can see big dollar amount for the shop and for asphalt. Okay, Tony. Big dollar amount for lighting. You can see quite a range for the lighting, and that should be taken into account. Depending on the way the district wants to go, you can do what's called a direct wire install with LED lighting. So you have all these 2x4 troffers that Tony was just talking about. And if you just directly wire an LED bulb into that, you're going to be closer to that 240 range, but you're keeping your existing fixtures, which a lot of times will be more old-fashioned looking. And then if you physically remove that fixture and put in an all-new LED fixture, and they make, not my gig, but beautiful things, that's more at the upper end. Also, you get fancy controls at the upper end with dimming and so forth. So that's why the range there. I picked a number in the middle for the next slide. So next, secure entrance again, high dollar. So that's kind of how the individual high school, middle school numbers look. And this slide is the one that I wanted to get to. So this gives you an overview of everything that I've talked about vertically in the 1 to 2 years and 2 to 5 years, horizontally by school, and then in the corner there, a total number of 3.8. So what I wanted to talk about or say in regards to that 3.8 number, I was fidgeting with numbers earlier today, and so you have a total dollar amount of 3.8. If you combine what I put in for lighting at both schools, exterior, interior, pool, that's 500,000 of the 3.8. If you combine all the asphalt, that's 650 of the 3.8. Combine the 2 secure entrances, that's 800. And then you put the maintenance shop in for repairing the maintenance shop of 400. So you total those 4 large items and you're at 2.4. So of that 3.8, 2.4 is 4 bigger picture items, and then you have 1.5 of all the other stuff. So I just thought it was interesting to break that down. By all means, we've spoken for a long time here, and I would love to hear questions rather than keep talking. Is that where we're at, Tony?
yep.
Any questions?
Question on exterior drainage.
Yeah.
Oh, you muted himself.
Robert, you muted.
Oh, there we go.
No, I'm just curious. It's like 50 grand for exterior drainage. What are we talking about there specifically?
I don't know, and I had to throw something at it, but what I'm talking about, I just don't have a good handle on costs yet, but what I'd be talking about would be essentially a surface mounted gutter going to below grade, whether it's drain tile or pipe, and going underground below frost, under the asphalt in between the maintenance shop and the high school, and just surface exiting out the hill down to Ben Lawton. So just trying to get it away from the school instead of down the side of the foundation. But that's an estimate. That's not a good number yet.
Robert, do you have any other questions?
Not at this time.
A question that I have for you is we had spoken about the actual square footage per student. And if there's enough space for our students, we've spoken about Laurel, for example, and perhaps wanting to expand that maybe one day. And what does that look like as far as space? What are your thoughts on the square footage of the buildings and what we might do to address, or is that not a problem?
I don't want to speak out of turn because we're just not there yet. I mean, generally speaking, I felt like the high school was pretty good on space, except for maybe some storage. But that is something that we need to get on top of yet and individualize all those spaces for you, comparative to what's recommended.
As well as the tech ed department, and they also do some things with animals there, and those, you just haven't gotten to those spaces yet, correct?
Not in regards to what we call our space needs analysis. Tech ed, I think what we will find is that, and this is just my opinion from being in those spaces, I think what we'll find is that you're adequate in comparison to your peers. It's a lot more tech ed than a lot of high schools have, as far as raw square footage.
Anybody else? So I'm going to ask the students. I mean, you all are in those buildings. Do you have any questions? No? No, I was just curious what their thoughts, because we have several high school seniors here this evening, and I was curious what their thoughts were about your presentation. Well, thank you. It sounds like we'll get more detailed information at the next meeting, but it's very thorough and we appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the great information.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
You too, thank you.
All right, with that, we will go to Spotlight on Education, and we have Kale and Abby, Katrina, Henry, Ethan. And it looks like Olivia
will probably be next month.
will be next month. All righty. Would you all stand? Come this way. Come this way. If Elliot can do it, for goodness sake. I'm gonna have you come up. So they should be, so people can see them as well.
You want us to face the TV or are we facing you?
Why don't you face the TV?
There you go. All right.
It's awkward, very awkward.
I need to get them used to it.
I know. So I'm gonna have all of you say a little bit about yourself, your senior year experience, as well as what your next steps look like. Say your name, what your interests are going forward.
Sure, I can start. I'm Kayla Anderson, and my interests, my sports I participated in were football and then wrestling. And I'm planning on going to UW-Madison to major in kinesiology. And my high school experience, I thought the last 4 years were very fun. I felt very supportive through everything, through academics and athletics. And yep, that's it.
I'm Ethan Tubin. The only sport I'm in is tennis, but I've been in student council all 4 years. I've loved high school for the most part. COVID's made it a lot worse. Not a lot worse, but stuff has become worse. And I plan on attending Marquette to major in either finance or accounting.
All right, I'm Henry Rolls. I've spent 7 years here in the district. I would say my high school career was pretty good. I've done a multitude of sports from cross country to football, basketball, tennis, and golf, including stuff like student council and FBLA. I plan on going to South Dakota School of Mines in Rapid City for industrial engineering.
Thank you.
I'm Abby Dragney. I've lived here and gone here my whole life. Through high school, I've been in student council and band doing palms and flags, and really enjoyed it and everything except for this year and like last year, obviously. And next year, I will be going to the University of Minnesota Twin Cities.
I'm Katrina Kappa, and I've been involved in cross country, gymnastics, track, student council, NHS, and band. My high school experience has been really good, and I've also felt really supported by coaches, teachers, everyone. And next year I'll be going to UW-Madison to major in psychology.
So what was your major? I don't in Minnesota.
I will be majoring in sustainable systems management.
Okay, fantastic. So any questions from any board members? No? So we would like to thank you for participating with the board. We know it was not the same. Awkward, different, hard to attend, only here for a short period of time, but we really appreciate your interest. We hope that you've gotten something out of it. I'm sure it was a little different than what it's been in the past. We wish you all only the most success that life can bring to you for your health as well as every other aspect of life. And we want to thank you for your willingness to come tonight and congratulate you on your successes while you were in high school. And it's just the beginning. Life gets better and better and better from my experience. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, I guess I'd say I take it the auditors didn't see the zip ties holding up the lights in the pool.
No, they did.
Okay,
They
good.
did. Yes, they did.
So why didn't she bring that up
So-
when I
so-
asked?
Oh,
That's where I was going.
Not in fairness, they're only holding up if they were to fail. That's the backup.
Yeah,
That's
well,
the backup.
Okay.
That is the safety issue.
That was why I knew you guys would have something, and I was really surprised that no one shared anything that you've seen while you're in high school.
That's a fact.
It's a good point. All right, well, if you all want to stay, we would love to have you, and if you're wanting to go to different directions, we understand that as
No
well.
pressure.
We are not the most exciting, I'm sure, for you all. I know that prom, do you want to say anything about prom or any of the athletics events for the spring, or share any tennis, anything that's going on? No?
Guessing that practice.
Yeah, we didn't have practice today.
If you don't play spring sports in the snow, you haven't participated in Wisconsin spring sports. In my experience. Well, I will let you all go, and thank you so much. We really do appreciate your willingness to serve. So have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Or, I just feel like it's just not,
Do air fives?
yeah, it's just not typical, so. Okay, so with that, we will now go on to the consent agenda. For proof of public notice, the consent agenda, proof of public notice approval of agenda March minutes with a change, and voucher summary one in the amount of $404,166.49. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? With that, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the voucher summary 2 in the amount of $259,973.04 as presented. Is there a motion?
So
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, vote by, any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain. Motion to accept the donations in the total of $2,784, $300 from the VFW Running Johnson Ray Post 3032 for football helmet decals and reconditioning, and $2,484 from the Girls Hockey Club for girls hockey jersey with thanks for their generosity. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I have a question. Girls Hockey Club jerseys. Is there a logo that's going to be put on those?
Those jerseys are the jerseys they've been using for the last year and a
I
half.
see.
They're good. They went through the proper approval.
Okay.
Yep.
I just didn't know if they wanted to do something different or not. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to end the Trillium Charter contract at the conclusion of the 2020-2021 school year as requested by the Trillium Governance Council. Is there a motion?
So
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Tom, do you want to give any information about that?
yeah, as we've been going through this process with the Trillium Governance Council, they kind of brought this question up a couple of months ago, John, if I remember right. And really talking about the viability of the program and continuing to move forward. And so right now, I believe there were a total of 10 families that had signed up in both 7th and 8th grade for next year. And so within that, having 2 classrooms, 2 teachers assigned to that charter school, they decided it was in the best interest to terminate or end that charter agreement at the end of this year. I do believe that having VAMs come up at about the same time did influence at least some thinking with that. If we're being honest with that. So within that realm, they did already vote on that as a governance council, and it's a very similar process. So they voted. I will submit their meeting minutes on top of the meeting minutes from this, if you guys so choose to end that agreement, which I'm not sure how that would work if you didn't. If the governance council is saying to end it, and we just say, yeah, let's keep, I'm not sure how that would work, but same kind of process. I just submit that to DPI, and then they go for review, and then I'll answer any questions that they may have at that point in time. With that being said, I do want to say that just because you ended a charter agreement does not mean it was a failure in any way. This was an idea that had many hours, hundreds of hours put into it. And we want to thank those families that not only started it, but continued, those parents that helped with that charter start, and then also that have continued it to go through. We have 2 excellent teachers in that program that we will absorb into our staff, and they will have a job, and they will continue to be leaders within our buildings. But that piece is, as far as the viability of that program, I'm not sure how, and that's what they felt as well. They couldn't justify continuing to use up those resources for that. With that being said, John did make personal contact with every family to let them know that the governance council had voted that, and that what the process was from here on out. And so, John, I really do appreciate that. I know the families do as well, even though it's not what they wanted to hear. Anytime you're doing that again, though, I want to make sure that we're being very grateful for the many hours put in, not only by the staff and the teaching staff, the admin, and the parents, but just everybody involved. It takes a great effort to accomplish what they did, and we look forward to utilizing different aspects of that school for many years to come.
Well, I know we had one of the teachers speak about the program. She was fantastic. All of us, I think, said we would like to be in her class. She had a high energy and very engaged and passionate, and a fantastic teacher from our perspective. So we're always sorry to have a program not continue. We don't want to disappoint any families, but we also have to do what's best for all students. So we all thank everyone that was involved in this process from the beginning, because I know it's been quite a process. And thank the administrative team also for working with that governance council to make sure the transition is smooth for the families and the students and the staff as well. Any other discussion? With that, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We will now go to resignations and
I didn't
retirements.
hear the motion on that. Can you tell me
What?
who made that? Can you tell me who made that motion?
Kim,
I think I did.
I
Or you made it and I seconded.
Okay, thank you.
It's very difficult with math.
my memory is obviously short.
Mine too.
I think it was. Sorry.
All good.
All right, a motion to approve the resignation of Kristen Alderman, elementary school special education teacher for 2 years, and Jessica Carls, middle school counselor for 5 years, with thanks for their years of service to the district. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there
Second.
a second by Robert? Any discussion? So my question would be, they're going to fulfill their year, and then these will be posted tomorrow or soon after?
Very soon. Yep,
Soon?
very soon.
Do you think that there will be any difficulty in filling these positions?
There are 2 interesting positions to fill, yes.
That's
think
what I-
can state that, yeah, they'll be interesting to fill.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? With that, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appointments. Motion to approve the appointments of Luke Sitzner, assistant varsity softball coach, Olivia Trigestead, JV softball coach, Nathan Tunks, assistant tennis coach, Greg Roberts, middle school track coach. Is there a motion?
So moved.
That's a motion by Matt, a second by Robert. Any discussion? I think they've already started, correct? Today?
Yeah, I mean, they've been having some contact days even before today. But yes.
Every high school sport, I think, other than boys tennis, started
Okay.
officially.
All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the summer school principal compensation as recommended by the compensation committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Kim, do you want to speak to? the compensation committee?
Basically, we were in closed session the whole time, but this is the only item we're bringing forward. And there'll be a planning and prep amount, and then the on-site administration while summer school's in session. So I recommend that we move forward with that.
Thank you. And thank you for the compensation committee's meeting this evening. I know there were a lot of details that were discussed, and I appreciate all of your time. With that, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One opposition. With that, the motion carries. Elementary school flooring bids. Motion to approve the elementary school flooring bid from Space Flooring in the amount of $65,650 as recommended by the Buildings and Grounds Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Matt's motion, Robert's second. Any discussion? Robert, would you like to speak to the?
And we had 3 bids. They're for the the VCT tile, and Space Flooring was the low bidder by a decent amount. Had 3 bids, and they were the low bidder, and they're local. So, and they've done a great job for us before. And trying to get it in between first session summer school and that's over in the end of July. But sounds like a 3.5 week project. But we'll have to probably do some moving around with the second session of summer school there because of Just not quite 3.5 weeks in there.
Even all things you said, so 61,650.
Oh, okay, 61,650. Do I need an amendment to that?
Yeah.
And then an amendment to that motion?
The person that made it can do that.
I think that was Matt. Can you amend that motion to
Yes.
61,650?
Amend the motion to the correct one, 61.
650.
6.
Thank you. And Robert, you seconded
Yeah.
that?
Yep. And the other bids were 68,114.86 and 73,600. So.
Thank you. Any other discussion? So thank you, Robert, and the committee, and Mike and Tom as well for working on that item. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The curriculum, a motion to approve the library and information technology curriculum as presented. Is there a motion? Motion by Vicky, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Amanda. Vicky, do you want to speak to the curriculum?
Sure, we had the first reading last month and there have not been any changes. So we're bringing it forward to this meeting with thanks for everyone's hard work on keeping up to date and correct.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your time on that committee, serving on that committee as well. With that, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I know a lot of effort goes into that by Krista and all of the teachers and staff. So thank you everyone for that. Policy updates. A motion to approve the policy updates as listed on the agenda. It should also be noted that these are changes that are required to take place. Is there a motion? Motion by Matt, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. Matt, would you like to speak to the policies?
Yeah, we can just mostly a couple of changes and updates. Obviously, there's whistleblower protection, which is new, very standard in terms of protection for individuals who come forward and give information, just protecting them from any retaliation, anything like that. And then definitions, just little revisions in a lot of those, but they did add a school nurse definition and school officials definition, which again, pretty standard from that. Sexual and other forms of harassment was revised. School counseling, academic career planning was revised. Unauthorized work stoppage was revised. Just kind of getting over the past year, a couple of recommendations and revisions on that. Dress and grooming, head lice, and spending federal funds, procurement, federal grants and funds, all had slight revisions to them as well.
There were a lot of policy changes, so thank you to you, Beth and Tom as well for working on those policy changes, and Leola, by the way. Any other discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is an informational item. Matt, would you like to speak to the first reading policy updates?
Yeah, there's not too much here. The Neola overview is in there for anyone just to take a look. We did run out of some time in our meeting, so we will be scheduling another meeting just to go over. There were a couple of things that we had questions on in regards to usage of logos and mascots and things like that. And then the first one, board member information requests. The new policy is to require board members to put anything in writing if we want to get information to use. And just it goes against what we've done in the past. And we think we have a pretty good policy in place for that. So we're just going to revamp ours run it past our council and make sure everything is good from a legal standpoint there. And then we'll come back.
Thank you. Compensation committee update. Kim, would you like to speak to that, please?
Basically, we only had a closed session and we didn't really finish everything we need to, so we'll be having another meeting in 2 weeks before something comes forward to the board.
Thank you. Budget and finance committee update, Amanda?
Mike gave us a look into the future that is super clear. Or not, but it is what it is in April of any year. So there's not a whole lot to update other than continuing to monitor it, and we'll share information as it's available.
Thank you. And thank you, Mike, for the detailed report. Buildings and grounds committee update. Robert, would you like to speak to that topic?
Yes, I would. Mike was less than clear about the future in our committee meetings, so. But he did mention that if we fill the pool, we'll find out what needs to be fixed. He also indicated that same as what we learned from CISA 10 was there's this control joint that needs to be recaulked and looking for somebody to do that. Another issue with the pool when it's drained and been drained for what, year and a half, that stucco doesn't like that as well, and it's getting rough and it'll continue to get rougher, and we might end up with some complaints on that. So we'll have to probably do something with that in the very near future. Other than that, we obviously talked about the flooring bids and had a brief conversation with CISA 10's representatives for about 5 minutes to just kind of introduce themselves and start a working relationship, I guess, with them from the committee standpoint. And there'll be more to come in May on that item.
And
there are some questions. I'll try to answer them, but that's my report.
And I'd like to follow up with what Robert said about the CISA 10 and the relationship. When you sit and you watch those reports, my stomach was just churning as like, well, you know, that's what they're doing. They're trying to look for the things that we need, you know, and he explained that very well. One thing I've really appreciated in the few months that we've been in contact with them is the ability to bounce ideas off them, find out, you know, who to talk to, which direction, you know, those doors that they had indicated, the different ones that needed, not at the elementary school so much, but the ones over here that are rusting out and rotting out. We've got quotes on those, and I'm able to help him, or he's helping me say, you know, the FRP is the way to go, or the stainless steel. And I mean, it's been very, very good. And we're going to continue that. And he doesn't know everything about us either. You know, some of the things on the window, Mark and Johnson said we needed to talk about those windows, and that is on our plan. But that wasn't done. I'm not so sure about his assessment of the lentils. We're going to talk about that. But you know, I mean, we were with him the whole time, so it was very interesting for me to hear kind of what he picked up on also in talking to the staff and what he observed himself. So it's been a good process.
I think it was a wise choice to have CISA 10 and work with somebody like that to give us more resources and more ideas. So kudos to whoever reached out and made that proposal to the board.
Well, my concern is everybody's going to be doing these construction projects and the cost of everything is going up. You know, just getting people to do the routine work as well as what it's going to look like to order the materials, and delays. I've been hearing people delayed with ordering materials. So it'll be interesting trying to move forward in a timely fashion.
Yep, and I just want to reiterate what he said again. His job is to find fault, right? I mean, that's his job. Nate has over and over and over again stressed that we've done a great job of maintaining our buildings, and they are in amazing shape for their age. And it's a huge compliment to not only the decisions that the board has made, but also our buildings and grounds, custodial staff, and maintenance workers that are just, I mean, doing an outstanding job. And we've been told that over and over and over again. So just to again, his job right now is to show us, what we need to fix, but it's really important to continue to come back and go, hey, this is much better than what it could have been had we been a district that let the buildings go a lot further than we have.
Well, thank you, Robert and Mike and Tom for that direction. The next item is district administrator.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of updates that we will go through really. As far as a COVID update within the schools, we've been again back 7 through 12, or K through 12, since March 1st. At that point in time, the meeting before that, I told you guys I had anticipated not that our active cases would go up, but that our quarantines would go up. And then I was proven wrong. And I appreciated that. I'm very okay with being wrong on that one. And that has continued right through this last month as well. That's a testament not only to our students for taking this seriously, our families for taking it seriously, but also our amazing staff who has stepped up in a way that has been absolutely fantastic in their extra mitigation techniques and cleaning. And that's again custodian and all of our teaching staff for taking on those extra responsibilities. So I am happy to report that we're continuing to hold strong with those numbers, and look forward to that hopefully continuing here as we move forward. I'm not sure if this is real wood here, but particle board we can knock on that as well. So so within that, we've also got a ton happening throughout the district. So one thing I do want to highlight is that our AID team put on some professional development during our last in-service, where they brought in Kyle Whipple, who is an associate professor at UW Eau Claire, talked about diversity and a ton of different opportunities for our staff to learn and grow as far as really understanding some of our bias, and then also educating on some vocabulary that we were not aware of. So it was a great use of 2 hours. We received very positive feedback from the staff as they surveyed on that PD opportunity, and we look forward to continuing to develop opportunities. That group also put together a book study on the book this book is anti-racist. And so we had, I don't even remember how many signed up, somewhere in the 20s sign up. And there was a consistent group of 5 to 10 that met every week during that book study. And they just concluded that last week. And I'm looking for more PD opportunities moving forward. But the conversations that I was a part of were absolutely outstanding, and where staff were being truly vulnerable about, hey, here's what I'm confident with, and here's what I'm not confident with in addressing. And really, again, we are laying the groundwork and continuing to move to a new and better future, and we're excited about that. Another update is thank you to the county and local vaccinators for getting our staff through this fun process. At the last time that we had taken, not necessarily a poll, but if you were interested in the vaccine, and then the school, and a big shout out to Beth for working with the county as well. As far as getting staff signed up for vaccinations through the county, we had around 85% that we know of staff get the vaccine. Now that does not mean that some others that just did not either respond to us or answered no at the time did not receive the vaccine later. But that's a really promising number, especially when we're comparing to other schools around us, and that's exciting as well. The county has it's been a fun year for the county, as some of you definitely have some hands-on experience with, but I cannot express how fortunate we are to have the leadership we do with the Vernon County Health Department, and the job that those contact tracers and those that then went and transitioned very quickly to schedulers of vaccine have done. So thank you. Was that 2 weeks ago? I was able to, it's not testify at that time, but I was able to attend and be able to speak on behalf of Viroqua area schools at the governor's budget listening session. I presented at the one group prior to that, and both times, by the luck of the draw, they break them into small groups, and both times I've been able to speak directly to Governor Tony Evers and get some feedback from him directly. And that is an outstanding platform to use. And so some things that I expressed in general were special education funding, as well as per pupil aid, and then we discussed, as there were some questions, almost two public school administrators on that relationship with voucher schools and programming that I was able to address as well. So again, thankful for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the district, and then also for all those that are willing to participate in those. And there are some outstanding stories and pieces of evidence being brought forward at those meetings. So we'll continue to work with our legislators as we go through this budget process, which is going to be a very interesting one. Even more so than any other typical one. It's funny because we keep hearing, oh, it's going to be a tough budget year. I don't know, or tough budget cycle. I don't know when I've ever been a part of one that hasn't been tough. I mean, I hear that literally every time that we go through this. We're going to work through it, and I truly believe that everybody wants to do what's best for the kids in the state of Wisconsin, and we're going to come to a compromise that I think everybody can handle. I also just want to make a note that high school ELA and middle school social studies curriculum pieces for the new text we're going to put on the calendar for next year and work through that process. So that'll be added to the 21-22 calendar. The other piece, and we usually do something bigger, I believe, for volunteer recognition. And unfortunately, this year with our visitor restrictions, we have had very few volunteers within the district. So what I would say is thank you so much to those that have volunteered, and I wanted to do a specific shout out to our volunteer coaching staff, because they have been here and really have been continued to step up in this time of need. So thank you to all those that typically volunteer and maybe did not get the opportunity. We are excited to have you back next year. And again, thank you to those that were able to volunteer this year and gave of their time, energy, and talents. It's very much appreciated. And that's it. That's the quickest district admin report you guys have had all year.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah. Any questions?
Any questions? No? All right, thank you, Tom. Administrator's report. We are going to start with Riley. So Riley, if he stands there and the screen can see him and we can hear him, and can he be heard from this as well? Mike and Beth?
You might need to step a little closer.
Would you come a little
Yeah.
closer, maybe up between them and
Yep.
In between those?
Right in there. Yep.
I was just
Speak up,
thinking,
Riley.
since you're introducing yourself, that you want to face.
There you go.
There you are. There
Yep.
you are. So if you don't mind introducing yourself and the position that you now hold.
My name is Riley Abbing. I'm finishing my second year as a high school math teacher. I'm currently taking courses through Viterbo to become a principal. This Saturday, actually, I will be finishing my 4th class. And so the administrative team and the board created this summer school position, which I'm very thankful for, because I read a lot of books for my classes, but some of the things that I've been able to do without reading books, like having these important meetings with the leaders. I've met with Tom multiple times now. Just those interactions have helped more than just what reading a book can do. So the first thing that I did since getting the summer school principal job was I met with the leaders, food service department, maintenance, principals, teachers that have taught summer school in the past, just to get their opinions about when to start it and things like that. And I can be more than happy to go into more detail, but I just did a lot of things before and after school, took a lot of notes, and we finally came to the high school having summer school right away, June 7th through July 2nd. Otherwise, turnout tends to decrease quite a bit the longer we wait. Middle school elementary is June 14th through July 9th, with July 5th off because 12-month employees need a holiday off either that Friday or Monday. That was something that I learned I didn't know of. And I've been able to meet with Mr. Brendel a lot. Otherwise, I've only known him through coaching. Just meeting with all these different people. I can't thank you enough. It was something that I wasn't anticipating would come my way. So again, I'm kind of speechless. So thank you for the opportunity. We got the registration booklet out last Friday, a multi-page document. I think, did you?
Yep, I got it.
We also have our staff pretty well set for the summer. We might need a pre-kindergarten teacher. That was a multi-page document as well, summer school staffing. I'm happy to talk about any of those details now or later. So the kids are excited from what I hear. I received 2 emails today actually from high school parents knowing that their child will need some credit recovery and they want to get a go on that right away, make sure they get in. And then Brenda at the elementary is handling a lot of the paperwork that is coming in over the next 3 weeks, but I either meet with her or email her almost on a daily basis. So I guess that was my initial summary. Are there any questions?
Any questions? So Riley, I looked at the summer school booklet and we had talked about having a summer school handbook because some things happened a few summers back where there were some behavioral issues, and then there wasn't necessarily a process or a protocol going forward of what would happen with the students and speaking to the parents and things like that. I don't know if you'll have time or if there's something that exists already today for that parent handbook, student handbook for summer school.
For summer school, nothing that I've heard of, but I'll definitely look into that. I know I'm going to be meeting with Pat just to talk about how they do PBIS and things like that that I can carry over, but I don't have a good answer for you right now. I'll look into it though and get back to you.
And I'm sure Tom wasn't here then either. It was just more like the difference in how to handle discipline, like a one and done kind of a thing versus
Just a condensed version.
yes.
It was a much shortened.
There's one you can go by, Riley.
Yep. We'll
Brenda
give
will
it
have
to you,
it.
and I think it's a good idea, and it's will also be another good experience for you to go through that process.
Because that's, parents need to know right up front, what the expectations are. Students need to know, these are little kids, and summer school is it's different. It's much looser, and people are outside a bit more, and the events are more fun and yet very academic as well. So it's just a little bit of a different process, and people aren't around the same, administrators aren't around the same. So making sure parents know who to contact, so they're not, if they're to go to you, or if they're to go to Pat, or if they're to go to Tom, what that chain of command is too. Right. Because they won't know that since this is a new position as well. Those are just some of the questions that I had and what that might look like.
Thank you. I'll
Sure.
definitely work with you guys.
And you won't work with us. You don't want to do it. I'm gonna keep that door a little closed. Anybody else have any questions? No. So we wish you, welcome aboard. Thank you for teaching in high school, and that's coming to an end. I hope it's been a tolerable year with COVID and everything else going on. And the summer will be a little interesting too with COVID. It's not going to be exactly the same. And that's okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. The next topic, severe weather awareness, Pat and John. Your messages were similar. I don't know if you want to both speak to it or not.
Sure. What did you say a few words?
Okay, they are probably very similar. Safety drills are a little different this year because of everything's a little different, I guess. At the elementary school, our main objective was know where you need to go in case of severe weather, and let's practice getting there. Get there and get back to your classroom. Basically, we didn't simulate, loss of power and needing flashlights, and if this is real, you're gonna have to sit there for quite a while. It was more discuss that after the fact, but it's more. I was really impressed that if we have a fire drill, we can probably evacuate the building in a minute or so, and they all got to their spots in maybe 2 minutes. And basically turned around and said, okay, we're all clear, go back. But that's, again, with anything good, that's a testament to the staff practicing that and working with their kids. So, yeah, it went well.
Thank you. John?
Well, the same, we did more of a soft drill, which is just an announcement. When you think of the 600-700 students we have in this building, all together in the wrestling room and the high school locker rooms, that's too close. 3 feet is not achievable at all. So we did a soft drill this year, and fortunately, most of the students have been through it many times here. Our 5th graders have it. So we invested a few more discussions with the lower grades. So that's it. And we conducted our drill in alignment with the state. It was April 15th, I think, at 1:45. Then the sirens went off right after the drills. It was all good.
Well, thank you very much. Prom graduation honors program, Jason?
Similar, kind of what the kids were saying, we're actually really excited to be planning events with students and parents instead of canceling them. They seem to go over a lot better. But we have prom coming up this Saturday. So we worked, the parents of court worked with the kids. And then we, since we did not have a prom last year, the junior and senior classes, I don't know what process they went through, but they nominated a little committee to come meet with me with their proposal, and I gave them a counter proposal, and they accepted my counter proposal. So we're working on, and it was great because a lot of them, and even when we talked, the committee was like, we understand these concerns and we understand this, and and that shows a great deal of maturity and just great to work with. So this Saturday evening, we are having prom at Pedretti's Party Barn. I say evening because we actually are moving it up a little bit, especially with the country roads, just for safety standpoint. So it's going to be probably a fairly fast night because they're opening it up for pictures for an hour. They wanted to open it up that if students wanted to eat there, that they could eat there ahead of time. So the next hour is food where it's available. And almost all the kids, that was included in the price of the ticket. And then we're doing a 3-hour dance. But there are 2 coronations within the 3 hours. So the seniors are going to be, the coronation will be at 6. And then the junior coronation will be at 7. And then the dance will conclude at 8. I was telling the committee I was working with as of like a few weeks ago, I'm like, I am clocking what time it gets dark out, and I'm compensating for the change of daylight between now and then. And my wife thinks I'm crazy, like looking out the window, being like, okay, we're good here, type of thing. Because it's all about being a safe event and a fun event, and to be able to do events that the kids have missed out on. We did, which the students came with. We wanted to open up the seniors and juniors first and see how many signed up, and then we would see if we would open it after that. And the senior and junior signed up. A large majority of them signed up for the event. So we ended up not opening it up for the underclassmen. We look forward to the day that we can have all 4 grades do the event. But so it's junior, seniors only, no guests. I do not have to deal with any guest forms, and that was their suggestion of no guests. So I mean, that was great. have an event that, you know, we get to do something. And so I think it's great that we're getting to that point. And we're planning May 5th, we're planning on the honors program. So we're working through those details, and likely we will, as far as an audience, we'll probably restrict it to guardians and parents, similar to how we've done sporting events. We've already talked to Mr. Gabrielson about either doing some type of recording or live streaming it for extended family, and we'll leave it open for presenters if they want to present or if they want us to present. We are going to move the NHS portion of the event to a different night just to decrease our crowd size. Typically, there's a reception in the Commons. We're not going to do the reception in the Commons this year, you know, so to try to lessen some risks. At the same time, you know, do the events, and then we probably at least once or twice a week we get called about graduation. We locked in the date and time, you know, that we'll do it that Saturday at 1:30. And when we had the kids do their invitations, we were very non-committal as far as indoors or outdoors. I think we told them to put Viroqua High School, and that keeps a lot of options open for us. And I mean, we still got, you know, senior parents, it's I think just under 6 weeks to get that all taken care of. So but we'll see, as far as, you know, obviously weather plays into it too. And so we'll, you know, I think the nice thing is this year we probably will have options compared to last year, where our option was like June or July outside, and we probably didn't have, well, we were probably on plan C by that point, but we probably were limiting our options after that. So so we're looking forward to that, but I think it's really important to get the date and time out, because a lot of people plan their parties around the actual event, and whether it's indoor or outdoors, and you know, what type of capacity we're looking at. We can work out those details as we go and everything, but it's just nice to be, and it seems like, in many ways, it seems like such a long time since we've been able to plan events in many ways, because unfortunately we've been going the opposite for the last year or so. But it's great to work with the kids and the staff, and be able to honor some of the great kids that we have that you get to meet tonight.
Well, thank you for your flexibility, your creativeness, and trying to work forward through it all.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the point where I don't have to be as creative. So that's going to be great.
You know, maybe we will all just become more creative, because it just becomes second nature. I'm not sure. And maybe we won't hear, well, that's the way it's always been done, because now that's just not true anymore.
Well, and we've talked with staff and students throughout the last year, and maybe it's just trying to look at the positive of things. We should be able to grab some positives out of both. I mean, because there are times that you just get into, well, this is the way we always done it, but we've been forced to do some things differently. It's like, oh, that wasn't a bad idea, you know, that actually worked. And so to try to merge those things into an even better future, I think is the ultimate goal.
Well, thank you for that. And it was great to see these young folks up here, you know, all of them from the beginning to the end. So they're pretty exceptional. Kathy, Project Search Compassion Resilience Toolkit.
All right, so two very exciting things. Project Search is a transition program for students 18 to 25. We haven't partaken in that program before. So we have one student this year who, as I thought about it, met the criteria quite well. I added a couple of links in your board notes. There were a couple of videos, so I would encourage you to take a look at those videos, and it will really show you what it is. It's a program at Gunderson Lutheran where a student with intellectual disabilities, which is our lower functioning student, actually has a job apprenticeship for like 10 weeks. So they go through 3 apprenticeships. They could be in the laundry department. They could be in the food service, dietary, pharmacy. Some of them have been in security. They have been in pupil service or patient services. They've been in the pediatrics. PTOT, all of those areas. So it's really exciting. So we're very excited that we have a student, and she has been accepted, and her parent has accepted for her to do that. So we will hold her diploma for a year. She will go to that program. We'll work with home and high school. And she will have that opportunity. So things we'll be looking for over this coming up is how to get her there. So we will, and we're looking at, maybe we will put her on the smart bus. That's also a very transition thing for students. We also have her aunt works right down the road, so maybe she'll drive to work with her aunt. So, we're working on a couple things with that. We'll figure it out. I've had students at Prairie go through this program at Gunderson. Very, very fabulous program. So we're really excited about that. So that's with our transition or with our special ed folks. The other one is the Compassion Resilience Toolkit. We've been focusing a lot this year about, through COVID and all of this stuff, just how much pressure our students are under, social emotional learning, also our teachers. So the Compassion Resilience Toolkit is sponsored by DPI, but through a program and really teaching a group of people to facilitate resiliency among their staff, and working, giving the teachers some tools to work through some of these social emotional kinds of things. So we have a team of 6, the 2 psychs, 2 of our counselors, me and a high school teacher are doing these 4 half-day trainings to try to work with the administration and bring this back to add some of these activities within our school year over the next few years to add resiliency for our staff, basically. And then if you have a healthy, solid staff, they can also help with a healthy, solid student body. So trying to raise the capacity of those kinds of things. So those are 2 really exciting things coming out of my department currently. Any questions?
I gotta say, and you know this, I am very excited that a student is, that we got a student in Project Search. It is an amazing program, and they accept limited numbers. It's from all over. You got to kind of fit the criteria, but I am very excited about it and look forward to maybe next year at some point hearing about it and about how things are going, because it's a great program.
Yeah, we're very excited.
I don't know if the student would ever feel comfortable speaking to us about their experience or not, but if they would, that would be fabulous. The young man that was on the YouTube video.
He was actually one of my students in Prairie.
Oh, really? He
Yeah.
did such a nice job, and he was working in PT, and he was great. I really enjoyed seeing what his experience was. Anything else? Anybody else? I enjoyed watching the one for the staff too. I mean, it had just a very positive look on how you're working with students and some of the things the students bring, and thinking about the students' home life and all of the other factors that go into someone being successful and being positive. They were both very well done. So that's good. Thank you. And thank you for bringing those 2 things to the district. I think that have a great impact too. Anything else there? No. So board report, WASB legislative update. I was on the same, the governor's budget hearing session, listening session as Tom. I heard Tom speak. Tom spoke beautifully. He really represented our district in an admirable way. Some others didn't speak so well, and so it was really nice to see the clarity that he brought. He brought the issues, spoke to the issues, and what would better serve not only our district, but most of the districts in our state. So I appreciated Tom doing that. And it was a little bit informative. A lot of it was things that you're reading about that are coming But he did speak to the governor, and the governor was only in our room for a couple of minutes, and it just happened to be when Tom was speaking, so it worked out well. And then I also, I'm on Western Technical College, and their board, Dr. Damon Williams III, I don't know if anyone's heard of him or not, but he spoke about diversity, equity, and inclusion. He spoke amazingly well about how, as a society, when someone speaks to you and it's negative or degrading to another group, that you should say something. You know, we all have those uncomfortable moments when we should we say something? Should we not say something? Should we just nod our head? You don't want to make waves. You don't want to make people uncomfortable. And most of what he was talking about are ways that you can speak to someone when you're saying something that is negative. And he talks about ouch was one of the topics. I won't go into all of it, but when someone says something to you or a group or a joke that shouldn't be said, someone saying ouch, you know, that's a bit hurtful, and then typically that just cuts it off. So it was very, very well done, and he obviously has a book out. So if you Google Dr. Damon Williams III, he's internationally known, and he has a lot to offer. And he also talked about leadership for school boards or any type of a board, and having a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement of a culture. And so we've been talking about that moving forward, having an equity statement and a diversity statement, and what our culture should look like within our district for our students and our staff and our board. And he believes that it should come from the board level, and then it works its way through your district or and he speaks to businesses and Coca-Cola, a very large board, I believe. So it was on a large scale all the way to a small scale. So I look forward to bringing some of that forward and working with our board and the administrative team moving forward on that. Spring election results. So congratulations to Vicki and Robert. Thank you both for, and Kim. That's right, Kim was on it too. Kim had the most votes.
That's all right.
Not that I knew there was another person. I'm sorry about that.
That's
To all,
okay.
to all three of you. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you for running. Thank you for the support that you give our district. Obviously, you are passionate about our school and our students, and you really do everything that you can to best serve our district. So thank you for that. I'd also like to thank Mr. Quackenbush for running as well. It was a very close election and very high turnout, which was nice to see on an April election with not a lot of other things on the ballots. So congratulations. And I don't know, do we send something to a community member that runs that does not, have we ever done anything to thank them?
I did.
Did you? Thank you for doing that, because it's wonderful when community members want to be part of leadership in our district and be on our board. And with that, motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all.